We're going to go ahead, Chad, and get right to it. We're going to be ranking the MCU. This also includes the Sony films, Chad. I mean, technically, everything's under the MCU umbrella at this point, with all the X-Men films and such. But this particular list, Chad, has all the MCU movies that have come out, I believe, since, I want to say Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And, along with all the Sony films like Morbius this past year, too. So all the way up to those, along with the Raimi trilogy and the Web duology and all those. So we got a lot here, Chad. We got a lot here. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to, now these are all kind of in random order, which just makes it exciting, makes it fun. So the first one I see right here, Chad, is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Okay, so in terms of a sequel, doesn't really push it forward. Obviously introduces the character of the Wasp, played by Evangeline Lilly. And I do like her in the role. I think she's fun. But outside of that, it just feels like a movie that's really spinning its wheels. Very boring villains in it. I think I forgot the name of the villains in it. Honestly, Walton Goggins is there. And then there's like a gray bug lady, I think. Ghost. I think her name was Ghost. And I didn't particularly care for her all that much. The thing I actually did like about the movie a lot was the wholesome scenes with Paul Rudd and the little girl. That actress thought she's as cute as a button, Chad, plays his daughter. Liked all their scenes, but outside of that, it's a movie I just kind of personally, I feel no desire ever watching again, with the exception of maybe some of those scenes, those clips online, but I don't want to own it. Chad. So personally, I would probably rank it on D. I'd rank it D, Chad. I just don't particularly care for the Ant-Man sequel. Still looking forward to Quantumania, obviously. But yeah, this one is like, I just didn't feel like it did enough. Now, Ant-Man is fun. Ant-Man, I feel like that worked as a nice palate cleanser, especially after, I think this came out after Avengers Age of Ultron, right? And I like that it was a superhero heist film. Obviously, Paul Rudd as, Scott Lang, Chad, the second Ant-Man. I thought that was great casting. Love Michael Douglas. Introduces us to this nice little world, if you will, of Ant-Man. Corey Stoll, I thought he was fine, as well, Yellow Jacket. Not a lot for him to do personally. But in terms of the heroes, in terms of, the main protagonist, I did like what they did. And I liked how they kind of integrated Ant-Man into the Avengers and how, they introduced him via Anthony Mackie's Falcon. There's a lot of good stuff in this movie. It's not perfect. It has some issues, has some flaws, as I brought up. But overall, I like the first Ant-Man. So that's going to go in a B. That's going to go in the B, Chad. I think that's safe. Now, next one here, we have Avengers Age of Ultron. So again, this is a movie. I think it has some good moments. Some of the best moments in this film are some of the quieter ones. I really enjoy when the Avengers are all talking to each other and hanging out when they're actually acting like people. When they're all trying to lift Thor's hammer. I thought that's a really fun scene, right? I think that's pretty cool. And I like the idea of Iron Man. He feels like he has to fix the world, but because he feels that way, he constantly gets it in trouble. He gets himself in trouble, his friends in trouble. And it's kind of started, Iron Man's whole, he's creating villains for the MCU. And I like the idea that Ultron was his creation, to change it up, from Hank Pym, of course, is the creator of Ultron in the comics. It's just, I thought how they handled Ultron was a little sloppy. It was more even though it's called the Age of Ultron, it felt like the Weekend of Ultron, honestly. Not a lot. And Ultron's my favorite Avengers villain. And so I was really excited for this. I mean, James Spader is perfectly cast. I'm like, oh, great. But I don't know. There were just a lot of moments where he didn't feel as threatening as he needed to be. And I get it. He was supposed to be kind of smarmy. He's based off of kind of Tony's personality. But I don't know. It didn't work for me. I mean, I love this creepy stuff when he's first introduced, where he's singing the I don't got strings on me, which I was like, oh, I was kind of inspired. I thought that was pretty cool. And I how they introduced Wanda and Quicksilver, interesting ideas, cool ideas, but even then, it didn't always work for me. It was kind of sloppy, especially all right, even though we were all in on destroying the Avengers in the world, now we don't really want to do that, I thought Wanda gets better throughout the MCU, but her start was a little rough. The whole Black Widow and Hulk romance comes out of nowhere. Like, I still don't understand that. That, to me, to this day, I mean, they kind of just forgot about it, honestly. They didn't know what to do with it. But some cool action scenes, definitely some cool sequences, no doubt about it. But yeah, I would say it's the weakest of the Avengers movies. So this to me is like a C. This is a C. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's okay. It's entertaining enough, but it has a lot of issues. They definitely improved Chemi 1. That was, Joss Whedon's last Avengers film. I did the first one, did the second one. Then they brought on the Russos, who already cut their teeth on the Captain America sequels, Winter Soldier and Civil War. We'll get to those in a bit. But they gave us Infinity War. Infinity War is great. I mean, as a Marvel fan, this gave us everything we wanted. I mean, to just see just how truly terrifying and captivating Josh Brolin's Thanos is. Just the interactions between all these different heroes, from the Guardians of the Galaxies to the Avengers, all in their different teams, all trying to stop Thanos and acquiring the stones. The emotional stakes were high. The action was fantastic. I liked how, our characters were paying for the choices. There was consequences in this movie. There was a lot, and I love that. It felt like it really did a sense of a finale. Like, oh, hey, we're coming towards the end of this iteration of the MCU, and it was kind of like the beginning of the end with that. And they handled it so well. And so for me, Chad, Infinity War is easy, the first of the S-rank movies. That's S-rank easy. I saw that multiple times in the theater. Haven't gotten sick of it, Chad. I think it's great. Then we come to Captain Marvel, and I feel like, even though I feel like it has a lot of great ingredients, in the comics, I remember being a big fan of Miss Marvel, but I haven't read a lot of the original Karen Danvers Miss Marvel. Because I know they have the new Kamala Khan Miss Marvel, which I like that too. But I have not read a lot of the more recent Captain Marvel comics, and I know that she's a bit of I don't know, I guess an unpopular character for a reason. I don't think she's been written well, at least that's what I've heard. Now, in the case of this movie, I was going in, like, I absolutely wanted Katie Sackhoff for this role. I just, seeing her in things like Battlestar Galactica, oh, she's perfect. She played Starbuck. That is basically Captain Marvel. Let's fucking go. Here, even though I like that, hey, it's kind of a period piece. It's set in the 90s. So, younger, Sam Jackson, kind of, his, exposure to these, sci-fi threats, these cosmic threats. I think it's cool. The introduction of the Skrulls. What did they do with the Skrull stuff in this movie? I thought was great. I really loved how they handled all the Skrulls. It's kind of threw us for a loop, what to expect from them. But I feel like with Brie Larson, even though I think she's a very talented actress, she is. Check her out in, Room. Not The Room. And she's done other great stuff beforehand. I don't know. It's just the way in which she was directed, how she plays the character. There's just not a lot of emotion. There's just not a lot of great scenes with her. She comes off very, very flat to me, and it's a movie I've only seen once, and I just personally have no desire to see it again. I'm curious about how they're going to handle her in, obviously in the Marvels with the brand Kamala Khan, who I think is, this ray of sunshine. She's one of the best aspects of that series, obviously. But I don't know, for this movie, I was left pretty disappointed about it. I kind of was bored by it, and I didn't think it had a lot working for it. So yeah, this it's gonna go in the D rank for me, right next to Ant-Man and the Wasp. Then we come to Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Chat now. Captain America: Winter Soldier is still my favorite Marvel movie to this day. This is where we really started to see Marvel genre bending, incorporating different genres into the superhero formula. In this case, we're the first Captain America movie, which is fine. It's 1940s, wartime film. This one is a spy thriller. And it felt like, spy thrillers from the 60s and the 70s and 80s. And I feel like the Russos they understood Cap, I feel like, really well. And obviously they brought in the same writers that the first Cap movie too. He was, obviously Cap was the best thing about the first Captain America movies. Chris Evans, he did such a great job. But here it's like, I like that they brought him to the modern age, but they didn't make it like a running joke like Whedon tends to do in the first Avengers and Age of Ultron. He's a man at a time, but he's learning, he's getting better, he's not idiot. They don't play up his ignorance, which I really like. He's not an ignorant person. I love that they expanded on his relationship with Black Widow. I thought that at that point, in which that's the best she had ever been. I loved how they had Hydra. It changed just the whole idea of what Shield was. I mean, the action was perfect. The choreography, seeing how they got Captain America to move. Like, one of my biggest issues was with the first Captain America movie. The choreography is not very good. The action scenes are not very good. Feels very much like G.I. Joe. Here, it's like, no, this is like an action thriller where you're going to see this choreography. You're going to see these fight scenes, hand-to-hand combat, gunplay, all of it. I love this movie. Like, I don't have any issues with it at all personally, and how they bring back Bucky and the Winter Soldier, which is based off a fantastic run of comic shit, a more recent run in the last 20 years. To me, this is by far the best Marvel movie, and it is an easy S rank for me. Absolutely love the Winter Soldier, and then we come to Captain America: The First Avenger. So I like this movie. I think it's fine. Chris Evans is perfectly cast as Cap. They do such a great job with him here. I like Sebastian Stan as Bucky. I like their relationship. I think that's very good. They feel like brothers. Tommy Lee Jones, I think does a great. He has a great supporting performance in here. Haley Atwell is a great supporting performance in here. But I get the aesthetics of this movie is what bothers me. Like, it feels like Captain America is fighting Cobra most of the time. There's a lot of bad CGI in this movie. I think the Red Skull is kind of ridiculous. You are failing! And I'm just like, I just really didn't like Hugo Weaving's performance. Like Toby Jones, though, as Zola. I liked him a lot. I thought he was pretty good. I like how they actually bring back a Winter Soldier. But yeah, just the action scenes. I just look back. I'm like, I want to see Captain America fight Nazis. He's not really fighting Nazis. He's fighting Cobra. I'm just like, it's not great. But again, establishes a lot of the characters very well. But I think it really fumbles. And I don't think Joe Johnston's a very good action director. I know a lot of people is like, he's perfectly cast. And I know he's obsessed with his era, doing The Rocketeer and shit. I mean, clearly. But he doesn't know how to direct action at all. And he's very over-reliant on CGI. And so it's got some issues. So for me, I would personally give this is a B rank. This is a B movie for me. And then we have Captain America Civil War, Chad, obviously the sequel to The Winter Soldier. I mean, you could say this is a Cap-focused Avengers movie. You can almost call it Avengers 2.5. This almost felt like an apology for Age of Ultron to a degree, because I love it where all these characters are paying for the mistakes and consequences of this movie, especially Tony, and where it's an adaptation of a terrible comic book run, Civil War. I mean, it's awful. But here it's just like, hey, we're just taking the name, but we're actually going to have the conflict make sense, and you can kind of see both sides. Like, oh, I fucking get it. Like, I love that. Everything they do of Steve and Bucky, I think, is great. Everything they do of Tony is great in here. So many of the supporting cast have great. I think at this point, when they really start introducing, obviously with Vision and Wanda, we see the start of that romance. I love how, even though it's not enough, I wanted more. How that was handled. It was really good. And this is also the introduction of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and I thought that was great. Tom Holland's my favorite live-action Spider-Man, and they did that so well. And just the ending of this movie, and it's like, oh shit, what it means for the future of the MCU and all these characters. They fell out of their friendships, didn't see each other for years. It's just like, wow, it's a movie that had stakes and consequences, and that's why I love it when these movies do that. So yeah, Captain America Civil War, much like Infinity War and Winter Soldier, this is an easy S rank. Loved it so much. Then we get to Doctor Strange. Yeah, Doctor Strange, the first film in the series. Now, I remember, again, I think it's great how they introduce, man. Thank you. Got me following here. Hold on. Let me go ahead and thank all these people who are coming in right now with the generosity. Again, apologies if I missed it. Sonic Frontiers BR, thank you for the follow. I was playing a little Sonic Frontiers earlier. I think I'm still on that. Let me go ahead and change that around. But thank you so much for the follow. I guess you're a Sonic fan. And, Darkness Calls Me. I'm sorry, I missed your sub. Thank you, Darkness Calls Me, for this resubscribe. Hello, fam. How many hours are we into the subathon? We are about 4+ hours in. But good to have you here, Darkness. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing very, very well. An absolute pleasure to have you here. But let me go ahead and get back to my listing here, chat. Boop, boop, boop. All right, so Doctor Strange. Again, I love how they introduce magic in the MCU. They're very careful how they introduce magic. They like with Thor, it's like, it's more advanced science, but you guys call it magic. Here, it's like, okay, no, this is proper magic, taking energy within your body from other dimensions and crafting spells. I'm like, okay, I like that explanation. I liked how visually trippy this movie was. It reminded me of a Kaleidoscope, chat, and I liked how we got kind of cosmic in some instances. I like Benedict Cumberbatch in the film. That I did a good job. I think with the only issues I have with the movie, it's very formulaic. I mean, that's when you really start to see the Marvel formula. I think the villain Caecilius, played by Mads Mikkelsen, is just kind of like whatever. It's kind of a waste of Mads Mikkelsen's talent. I wish he could have been could have been cast as another Marvel villain, Doom, for instance. So he was kind of a throwaway. I do like how they handle the third act. I think the third act is quite fun, and where it just kind of ends with this loop, this conversation. I did dig that. But you do start to you see the wires. You see the wires kind of hold the movie together. It's like, okay, but still, it's a very entertaining movie. For me, I would give this is a B. This is a B for me. The first Doctor Strange. He has a great cape. Absolutely. Oh, and then Chad, we get to Avengers Endgame. I mean, come on, Avengers Endgame. What an amazing cap to the Infinity Saga, chat. I cried several times while watching this movie. The performances across the board were fantastic, chat. Love how these characters reunited and, got through their variety of differences. Just the stakes, the consequences, the major deaths, how meaningful they were, chat. I mean, it was a triumph. It was an incredible triumph what the MCU did. I think maybe you can criticize like the science of time travel. Like, anytime you have time travel in a movie, chat, unless it's a comedy, it never makes any sense because usually not focusing on it. But I'm not gonna be so critical towards the movie in terms of it's the science. I mean, it's fucking space gods and wizards and superheroes fighting against each other. Like on the emotional level, it struck a chord with me. It's like, wow, this is what you can do with this genre and just crossing all these characters, over with each other. It was perfect. Like, I loved all the various arcs that these characters got. I mean, I love how the original Iron Man ends with Tony saying, I am Iron Man, which is like, oh, such a great moment. And then years later, 10 plus however many years later, those are like his final words where he says, I am Iron Man. And I was like, oh, wow. I love that. So Avengers Endgame, chat, easy S rank right there. Easy S rank, right next to Infinity War and the two Captain America sequels. Moving on from that show, we get Guardians of the Galaxy, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, which, like everyone, or a lot of people, I'm like, who the hell are the Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, I maybe knew about Groot and Rocket, Talking Raccoon, Tree. I kept saying its name over and over again. Other than that, I didn't know any of these other characters. But when I saw that marketing, the trailer, I was like, oh, this looks really fun. I liked how James Gunn, who had, I think at that point had done smaller films like, Slither and Super, these kind of like dark comedies or these dark drama or sci-fi films, right? But he was very smart to tie so much of the movie to music. And like, I'll never forget like how this movie opens up, I think is great, where it kind of starts very mysterious and we're on this kind of planet, this ancient planet, and you have this character goes into this tomb and it's Chris Pratt. And then he's looking around, he's like, oh, okay. And the camera pans down and he hits his cassette player and he just starts fucking dancing, and the music and the Guardians of the Galaxy logo pops up. I was like, oh shit, it's this kind of movie, and just great. Again, Guardians of the Galaxy, I think had such a strong start. And just the whole team really this was the first big film for Dave Bautista as Drax. Did such a great job. Obviously, Zoe Saldana was great. Bradley Cooper as Rocket was so much fun. If I have any big criticism of this movie, it's just the villain, Ronan. He's just so throwaway, so generic. He's big blue guy with a hammer. I was like, didn't really care. I just don't care for him at all. Because I often forget I was like, oh yeah, Ronan was the first villain in Guardians of the Galaxy, and they introduced Thanos, like, hey, he's a much cooler villain that makes Ronan look like a pushover. I'm like, why did you even do that? That was kind of weird, but yeah, the first Guardians of the Galaxy I think is very good. Just again and I like how it ends, the whole dance off, bro. That's very fun, but yeah, the villain kind of brings it down, chat. So I would give this is the first one I would give an A rank for Guardians of the Galaxy. Really good, a great superhero film, but it's got a couple issues, but it's really entertaining. And then we get to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This one is interesting for me because I feel like they do a great job with the villain. Kurt Russell is excellent as Ego. I loved it. That was a huge improvement over Ronan, especially just the emotional connection between him and Star-Lord. I mean, that's great. It's like, oh, you feel more invested. I mean, that line where he literally says, It just, it killed me to put that tumor in her head. And Star-Lord's like, what? Like, I love that. I think for everyone, that was a big moment in the film. But I have to admit, there's a lot of parts of this movie that did not work for me. Honestly, the comedy, and again, comedy's subjective. I know people that thought this was even funnier than the first Guardians. For me, it wasn't. Like, a lot of the stuff they did with Rocket and Yondu and with Taserface, I hated that shit. Like the Taserface bit that they kept repeating over and over and over again. I was like, okay. I was bored. I was annoyed, and they kept doing it. And so as soon as that was over, that's a good third of the movie, I'm like, ugh. I just didn't really care for that. We're introduced the character of Mantis, who I feel like doesn't get a lot to do in this movie. She actually got a lot to do in the holiday special most recently. And even Drax, they felt like they were kind of spinning their wheels. I like what they did with Gamora and Nebula, though. That was pretty good. I did like that and their whole sibling rivalry and working through that. And I like the emotional stuff between Peter and Yondu. I kind of wanted more of that. So, like, no, let's get some more scenes, because kind of all rushed that at the third act. It was still really good. And Chris Pratt and Michael Rooker were great together, but I wanted more. But yeah, that first third, especially with Taserface, I fucking hated all that shit. That just really didn't work for me. So for me, this is a B. This is a B. I probably back in the day I would have given this maybe a C, but there is a lot to appreciate with this film. I do like it. Kurt Russell, love the stuff of Nebula and Gamora, which I don't think gets enough credit, obviously. And I like the third, and Baby Groot too. It got Baby Groot, which is adorable. There's no doubt. But yeah, it's got some issues. I don't think it's as good as the first film. Then we get Spider-Man Far From Home. So as I said, chat, Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man is my favorite live action version of the character. I just love what they've done with him. I like the first time that he actually feels like a teenager, he feels like a kid. I like actually his connection to Spider-Man. And this movie takes place after the events of Endgame. I think it was the film after Endgame, right? I think it was kind of like the one that closed out Phase 3, I suppose. And so he's dealing with the aftermath of Tony Stark. Everyone expects him to be the next Iron Man, the next Tony Stark, but he just wants to kind of live his life as a kid. It's a typical, Peter Parker conundrum. It's like, I just want to be a teenager and I want to, ask out this girl I really like, but superhero stuff. And in this one, he has to deal with Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who does such a great job in this movie. I love him. I would never have thought years ago, Chad, you would ask me, would we ever get Mysterio in a live action Spider-Man film? Like, never. I feel like they don't want to risk it. They'll go with more of the animal themed villain, something safe. But they fucking made it work. They made it work so well. I love the final act here of the drone. I just love the whole, like, because as comic fans, like, okay, we know, like, Mysterio, and I love the whole presentation where he's like, I'm a hero from another dimension. Can I introduce the idea of multiverse? And it's like, oh, okay, which now we're properly in. And, like, his chemistry of Tom Holland, I think, is really good. If I have some issues with it, the way in which Tom Holland just, stupid kid, just gives him the glasses that Tony's like, hey, you have access to this military satellite. And Peter's like, I really want this. You want a Mysterio? He's like, sure. Like, that is like that's the big thing in the movie. I'm like, doesn't work for me. Big plot point. And in the first third, there's some stuff with the kids that doesn't always land. Or some of the teachers. They really lean into the teachers. I liked them a lot, actually, in the first movie. I loved all the school stuff. This is really hard because I really do enjoy Far From Home, but it's got some weaknesses. Damn. Witches, Chris. Yeah, I didn't like the witches thing. The witches bit. The witches bit was a little, it was weak to me. It didn't work. And you notice they took a lot of those characters out, like the teacher stuff in the third movie, because like, all right, we got to focus on other things. To me, this is like the highest of the Bs. This is like the highest of the B's, chat. So maybe if I had to rank these B's in terms of kind of how I feel, so maybe to do a little reordering, restructuring, we'll put Winter Soldier, we'll do Endgame, we'll do Civil War, that's fine. That's the highest of the B's, and yeah. I feel good about that. It's kind of how I would have it right there. So yeah, Far From Home is like the highest of the B's, chat. Very, very, very close. Very, very close. And The Incredible Hulk, I think an underrated MCU movie. I mean, it's just weird. It's kind of, the stepchild of the universe because it has Edward Norton in the role as Bruce Banner. I think this was the second film after, it was the second MCU film. It came after Iron Man. And I think Edward Norton, does a really good job as Hulk. I'm not crazy about the Hulk design, honestly, like how he looks. It's just kind of weird, and he just changes sizes constantly, and the CGI is a little iffy. I like how it starts out in Brazil. I like how it was paying homage to, aspects of the original Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk series. I thought that was pretty cool, using the musical cues and stuff. I was like, oh, this is nice. Tim Roth as Emil Blonsky, I think he's fine. He's cool. He does a good enough job. And then I like, oh God, he recently passed away. The actor who plays Thunderbolt Ross. I did enjoy him. I wanted, more of that personally. And who played Bruce's love interest in that movie? The actress, Liv Tyler. I liked her too. William Hurt. Thank you. I always confused John Hurt, William Hurt. William Hurt. I think he did a good job. But yeah, it's just that weird movie where it's like, oh, all this stuff, is anything that's going to pay off? Apparently some of it is going to pay off eventually. I guess like the leader's finally going to come back, and the Winter Soldier's going to be like the main, or not Winter Soldier, Captain America 4, New World Order. He's going to come back as the main villain for that. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. With Thunderbolt Ross. But yeah, and I didn't like the third act. The third act was just a big old smash. He literally Hulk said smash. I was like, all right, whatever. So yeah, kind of mixed on this one. This is I'm gonna say this is a C. This is the highest of the C's so far, chat, for me, for the Incredible Hulk. Iron Man 2, what a huge disappointment. Iron Man, we'll get to the first Iron Man just a bit. Iron Man 2, I don't know. It just felt lesser. It felt like it was just set up for the Avengers movies, honestly. It was like, we got to, reference to Captain America, reference Incredible Hulk, reference Thor. Here's Mickey Rourke as Whiplash. Yeah. And then, you have, oh God, what's his name as, who is the wannabe Tony Stark in that movie? I like that actor. A lot, but I just found him just so annoying. Sam Rockwell. I really disliked Sam Rockwell's performance as Justin Hammer. I was like, I'm not into this at all. And it was too bad because, Mickey Rourke was having like a big comeback thanks to The Wrestler. And it's like, oh, he's in an MCU movie, and they don't do anything with him. It's kind of interesting. Like, I like the whole premise of, oh, Tony, your dad stole the ideas from this guy's dad, and this guy wants, his family deserves the credit. I'm like, I kind of like, and then they kind of just drop it. They just kind of drop all of that. I was like, okay. So, I just didn't like how they really clearly didn't want to focus on Tony's alcoholism and all. I thought that would have been a great way to bring up in this movie, and they just don't. I was like, come on. That's my only big regret for, I think, a lot of the Iron Man stuff in the MCU is like they really didn't lean into his alcoholism, which is such an important part of the character from the comics. And here I was like, all right, you kind of just brush that away. So Iron Man 2, definitely D rank, definitely very low on the list for me. Iron Man 3, I think it's better than Iron Man 2, but again, I think it still suffers from a lot of the same problems Iron Man 2 does, especially when it comes to its supporting characters and not really know what to do with any of them. Especially like Happy. Happy was like, we don't know what to do with you at this point. Obviously the biggest controversial aspect of the movie is the Mandarin. I actually like Ben Kingsley's performance in the movie as this weird. Initially, this weird, he almost reminded me of like Muammar Gaddafi or something like that, like those would-be dictators. And obviously that turned out to be a whole, ruse, and it was this other villain played by Guy Pearce, and I was like, okay. And then they kind of have like the early version, the proto version of the Peter Parker Iron Man relationship with Tony and this other kid who's been in like some big movies. And I don't know, that didn't really work for me. And then we have Shane Black's obsession with fucking Christmas in this movie. And I'm just like, all right, here we go. we just have to cram that in every movie, huh? All right. The different suits are always fun. The different suits are fun to see, but after a while, they're just it's just gimmicky. It's like, I don't really care after a while. Like, yes, you got a new iteration of the Iron Man suit. That's fun. But hey, let's get a good plot. I feel like the biggest issues with the Iron Man sequels is like the plots are just not great. They're not very good. They're not very interesting. I do think it's a little bit better than Iron Man 2, but yeah. And also, like they're like, oh, Iron Man has PTSD, and I like how the PTSD, it's always triggered when he goes through the wormhole. It's all about what was it like going through the wormhole. It's like not the fucking invasion. like a year earlier with the aliens from Avengers. Like, no, it was the wormhole that triggers the PTSD. I'm like, all right, this is odd. Just a lot of odd choices here. So, yeah, this is D. I think it's better than Iron Man 2, but not better than these other movies. First Iron Man. First Iron Man's great. I mean, this is the introduction to the MCU, chat. I mean, it to me, Iron Man and The Dark Knight introduces us to the modern era of comic book movies, which we're currently in right now. Just taking this B-list character that outside comic book fans no one knew about, with this actor who had a tumultuous, career at that point, bring him back, but perfectly cast. Really showing off Jon Favreau's skills as an action sci-fi director. I mean, it established the MCU, the tone of the MCU. Great supporting cast. I mean, including, obviously Gwyneth Paltrow, I think, does a great job. Thank you, August. August, thank you so much for the biddies. Do appreciate that. Hope you're enjoying the MCU tier listing so far, the ranking right now. Thank you so much for your generosity. But I lost my train of thought. Terrence Howard, I actually really liked. One of my big criticisms also, I think, of the Iron Man sequels. Not that like oh God, what's his name? Oh man, I thought Terrence Howard he did a better job than Don. I think he did a better job than Don Cheadle has. I don't know. There's something about it. I really like the chemistry between Robert Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard. There's just something about it that just really worked for me. Every time they were on screen, I thought it was great. And then when Robert Downey Jr. is with, I just said his goddamn. I keep forgetting his name. I'm getting all my roadies confused. Don Cheadle. It just feels lesser to me, But yeah. Other than that. The only issue I have with this movie, honestly, like, I love how they handled the origin. Thought that was all great, modernized, taking place in Afghanistan. Like, oh, that's really cool. My only issue is that the third act is 10 minutes long. The third act is not great. Jeff Bridges, who is a brilliant actor, he's the first villain of the MCU, is Obadiah Stane, and not that he's bad. Like, he gets some good scenes in the movie, especially like when it's revealed, I'm the villain, Tony. It was me, Tony. I liked all that. That was pretty cool. It's like, Tony Stark built us in a cave with a bunch of scraps. Like, there's some great lines. But that third act, man, it's like 10 minutes long. So that's the only thing that's holding it back from maybe like being an S rank. But it is an A rank movie. It is definitely a very strong A rank movie, Chad. Chris Gannon, he's both the back of it. I'm sorry. Let's see what they're drinking the plane. That was fun. I like that scene. But it's a very good movie, Chad. It's definitely the strongest of the standalone Iron Man movies by far. And it's a great origin movie. Great origin movie. Next to Guardians of the Galaxy, probably the best one. Oh shit. Hey, Chad, speaking of origin movies, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Obviously, Black Panther introduced. I forgot to mention. Sorry, Black Panther obviously introduced in Civil War, played by Chadwick Boseman, who did such a great job. What an incredible presence throughout that movie. Loved him. So many great moments. Love his motivations, and I love like how his arc finishes in that first movie. Civil War, he's like, oh, vengeance is not something I should be seeking. He learns the lesson, whereas Cap and Tony are struggling with it completely at the end of the film, and they end on bad terms. Like Chadwick's T'Challa, he becomes a better person by the end of the movie, and I really like that Civil War. So I just want to go back and say he did a great job in Civil War, his introduction. Ace Rock, the Buddy Rock, don't stop. Thank you for gifting a sub. Thank you so much, Ace Rock. Hope you're doing very well. Going doing my MCU tier ranking right now, talking about Black Panther. And wow, I just kind of opened up to the world of Wakanda. Fantastic supporting cast, Chad. Angela Bassett, Letitia Wright. You had, Michael B. Jordan, of course. It's Killmonger, one of the best villains in the MCU. Even people like Andy Serkis as Claw. The film just has a great look. I love the culture, the use of color. They just brought Wakanda to life, and it was such an entertaining movie. If I have any criticisms of the film, it's just a lot of the action, the CGI doesn't work for me. especially as we get to the third act. It's always the third act of these movies, Chad. It's weird. But that whole sequence of the CGI, when you had, the CGI T'Challa and the CGI Killmonger just going at each other, I'm like, it just feels weird and floaty. But like all the emotional beats of the movie, all that fucking works. Everything about it all comes across very, very sincere and true. So this to me is this is probably the highest of the A's for me. This is the highest of the A's as of right now. There's only that CGI and some of those fight scenes were improved, and I think they are improved upon in Wakanda Forever, Chad. That was very good. And then we have Spider-Man Homecoming, Chad, the first standalone Spider-Man film in the MCU, I guess, unless we count the Sony films, because those are part of the MCU now. This gave me everything I wanted. Peter Parker in high school with his friends, dealing with his responsibilities as a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, trying to prove himself to Tony and Happy, wanting to be an Avenger, but also, I want to have a girlfriend. I'm dealing with all the stuff that other kids do. And you have this new villain introduced with the Vulture, played amazingly well by Michael Keaton. Love that. All of that. Yeah, to me, God, it's like, do I have any like big criticisms like of this movie? It's just this perfect kind of young Spider-Man story. And like one of my biggest issues with a lot of the older Spider-Man films is like they always felt like the directors and the filmmakers I don't want him to be a kid. I don't want him to be a teenager. He's got to be a 20-something schlub. And I'm just like, no, I want to explore those high school years. And I like that the Home trilogy gave us a time to explore those teenage years. And I thought they did it to a great effect in the first movie. I'm trying to think if I have any like huge complaints about it. Nothing's immediately coming to mind. Maybe it doesn't like reach the same emotional heights as something like No Way Home. But it's a really tight story. I like the supporting cast too. I love Ned and Peter's whole friend group. Thought that was really good. And like how they balanced the teachers and the kids, like the tertiary characters. That all worked for me. That's why I thought it was superior to Far From Home in that way. So, oh god, this is a hard one. This is a really hard one. I feel like maybe Chet. Damn. I think this might be. This might have to supplant Black Panther because one of the things I did I like. Did I like the action scenes more here? Fuck, this is hard. It's like neck and neck with Black Panther. I'm gonna put it right there. It's gonna neck and neck. I'm gonna go super high A. I'm thinking S tier, but I feel like there's another Spider-Man movie I would put up S tier. Thor. The first Thor, chat, I don't really care for it outside of Tom Hiddleston as Loki and Anthony Hopkins as Odin. I think I like that. I don't think they give a lot for Chris Hemsworth to do other than like, I don't know how Earth stuff works. And Natalie Portman, I just felt like all they had her just make goo eyes at Chris Hemsworth. That was it. That's their relationship. And I didn't like that at all. Supporting casting, care for. I'm a big Stellan Skarsgård fan, and Kat Dennings. But even then, I just didn't really like how they were used in the movie. It was just too much comic relief. I didn't like the Warriors. This Asgard just doesn't really work for me, honestly, in the MCU. Really, a lot in the comics. So I shouldn't say that. I haven't read enough Thor to say that. But how they've had Asgard work a lot in the MCU, just like it's just not my thing. And Kenneth Branagh, I think, is a very strong director in general. Just his style, his sensibilities just kind of irk me. I don't know. I think this is, I think this is better. This is better than maybe the Iron Man sequels and Captain Marvel, but I don't think it's as good as Ant-Man and the Wasp. So that Thor one is a D for me. Thor's D. I just don't care about it. Thor Dark World, that's the lowest, at least at this point, that's the lowest. Thor, I don't need to explain myself. It's Thor the fucking Dark World. Okay? That is D. That is D right at the end. Again, focusing on this romance that just doesn't work between Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman. Terrible villain. I like the Loki stuff. in the movie. Didn't care about the Warrior 3 things, No, forget it. Forget it. I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't want it. Now, Thor Ragnarok, yeah. Woo, what a fun movie. So good. Taika Waititi comes in, just gives the energy that the Thor films need. It's like, get rid of this Asgard bullshit. Like, we just don't need it. And I love how he just is like, I don't care. Just fucking throw it away. It has a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy sensibilities in the movie, chat. Love that it's very much paying homage and respect to something like Big Trouble in Little China. Just kind of has that, where they really lean into Chris Hemsworth's comedic sensibilities as an actor. Loved. The Loki and Thor relationship, how that was great. Love the introducing the character of Valkyrie. I mean, fucking Jeff Goldblum is the Grand Master. Just let him improv. Oh, I thought it was great. How they used Hulk and had, Mark Ruffalo in there. Thought that was great. If I have any big criticisms of the movie, is just, again, the Asgard stuff, which I don't really blame Taika Waititi for, because he's kind of working with material that wasn't good to begin with from, lesser directors. And so it's there. Cate Blanchett, I think, does an admirable job in the film. She brings a lot of, charisma to that role of Hela. It's just that it's so tied to this, I don't know, this uninspired take on Asgard. I don't personally care for. And they didn't know what to do with Carl Urban. I love Carl Urban. He's a great actor, and they kind of have him play this throwaway character. It's like, it's kind of frustrating. But yeah, other than that, I think it's great. It's a huge improvement over the Thor films. To me, this is a very high A rank movie. Probably would have been S tier if they just really said, all right, fuck all this Asgard bullshit. But to me, I'm gonna say this is a nice A, nice high A tier, chap. And then we get to Avengers. We have Avengers here, the first Avengers movie. I think at the time, I remember when I first saw this. I don't think the first 20 minutes of this movie is all that great. It's very flat. And I was like, uh-oh. But the rest of the movie is very entertaining. And it's just cool to see these characters finally interact with each other properly for the first time. I mean, people thought this wouldn't happen, Chad. It's like, holy shit, I can't believe they have it. This is huge. That was great. If I have any big criticism of this movie, it's I really just don't like the way Joss Whedon writes Captain America as this guy. He constantly writes him like he's ignorant and doesn't know what the fuck's going on. And that bothers me. It's like, that's not fucking who Steve is, And so it was a running joke. I was like, okay, Whedon clearly loved characters like Tony Stark, the smarmy, sarcastic guys, and I get it. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, it really bothered me how he wrote Cap in those movies. But Loki's great. Love how they handle all that. If anything, there is some flat direction throughout, even how some of the scenes are just set up. It's like, those could be a little more inspired. But it still gives us a lot of what we always want. I think back in the day, I would have said, oh, this is an A rank. But for right now, this is probably, I don't know, for me, chat, at this point, I would say this is a B. This is a high B for me. Very entertaining film, but I think in retrospect, when you compare it to later Avengers films, particularly Infinity War and Endgame, it's just like, oh, those are so much better. So that to me that's a good B. It's a good B, entertaining B. And we get to some of the TV shows here. We have WandaVision. Really enjoyed WandaVision, chat. Really, we finally get Wanda standing on her own. Loved how they really delved into the romance between her and Vision, properly for the first time, truly, where they gave it time and room to breathe. Loved the whole shtick where she grew up on these sitcoms, and that was kind of her family obsession. And, because of her grief and trauma, she creates this world and subjugates this entire town. I thought that was really cool. I think with the biggest issue that this show has, like a lot of the Marvel shows has, it kind of rushed the ending. So that was entertaining. Loved Agatha Harkness. Thought it was really cool. Catherine Hahn. It was Agatha all along. Very entertaining. I got emotional towards the end, especially when Wanda's saying, goodbye to Vision and her children, and sets up other things in the future. But yeah, this was great. I feel like some people maybe didn't stick around with it because they thought, oh, this is what it's going to be. Every episode is just going to be kind of like this 1950s or 60s type of thing. And it's like, it gets more into the plot, in the middle of the series. I think episode 3 and 4 on, it's when they really start to dive deep. And I really like that. So yeah, this to me is this is a nice A rank. I'd give this A rank behind the first Iron Man, chat. Really enjoyed it. Then we got Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I like this year for the most part, but you can tell that it kind of got its legs cut out from under it because of the pandemic. They had a whole plot line that scrapped because it dealt with like biological weapons and creating a pandemic. I mean, love the chemistry between Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. They're great together, and they were great together when they really first tried it, actually had conversations in something like Civil War. Really enjoyed that, and so that's on full display here. Love the stuff that they did with is it Isaiah Washington? Who is the character? Who was the character who was like one of the original Captain Americas? I'm trying to remember that guy. Is it Isaiah Washington? I'm trying to remember his name. John Bradley? Who am I fucking thinking of? Is it John Bradley? Oh, Isaiah Bradley. Okay, I was close. Isaiah Bradley. Thank you. Isaiah Bradley. Love that. That was great. If I have any, the villains, it was just the villains, the Flag Smash. I'm like, what is your deal? What is the thing that's motivating you? I never really thought that came across very well, and I was always confused by it, and I was always very confused by why Anthony Mackie, Falcon was adamant about like, no, they're not bad guys. I'm like, I think they are bad guys. Like I don't know what they were trying to do with that. That didn't work for me. But it was still an entertaining show. But it has its issues. It has some narrative issues. So I would give this is a B. This is a B. To me, this is like, this is right there. That's right there. Yeah. And the first Avengers. So actually, you know what? I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to go right there. I think it's better than, the first, Avengers movie. Loki, I think is my favorite of the, Marvel TV shows. It gives you everything you want when it comes to Loki. Him being smarmy, sarcastic, but also, he'd been humanized for a while at this point, but I just like who they pair him with. I love that, he's in uncomfortable, situations where they really properly introduce the multiverse and all the various side characters and different types of Loki's chat. Some great guest stars. I thought this was a lot of fun. For me, I'd probably give Loki. Loki is definitely the strongest of the TV shows. So I would say this is an A rank. This is definitely an A rank. I think it's better than something like WandaVision. Then we get to Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi, I think the first half of that movie is great. It's like, again, I like it when Marvel starts genre bending. It's like, hey, let's have a typical superhero film, but let's bring in a lot of classic 70s, 80s, kung fu movies like Enter the Dragon. I'm like, oh, that is brilliant. I think that's really cool. And the first half of the movie is great. Love how they completely make an apology for the Mandarin, introduce Wenwu, played by Tony Leung. He does a great job. It's the second half of this movie. I'm like, I just don't care. Where we go to this mystical mumbo jumbo land, and we gotta get behind it, and there's a door filled with demons and an evil dragon, and the Mandarin wants to get in there because he thinks his wife is there. It's like, what? I was like, no, this does not work. This does not work for me. Such a great, strong start. She's like, I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. I like what you're doing with the character. I like the depth you're giving them. I like the relationship between him and Awkwafina. This is really cool. Like, I was like, this I would, if the second half was as strong as the first half, it's like, this is an A rank, but it's not. That second half really drags it down. It's not terrible. I don't think it belongs in D, but it's definitely, to me, C. I just really have no motivation to watch this again outside of maybe the first half. Other than that, no. So Shang-Chi chat. C. Oh, Black Widow. Getting a lot of Phase 4 stuff now. Black Widow, again, she should have gotten a trilogy of movies far earlier, but that was out of Kevin Feige's hands for a variety of reasons, which I've talked about. Listen, I feel like Scarlett Johansson does a great job. Love the introduction of Florence Pugh to this movie. I thought David Harbour was great, but the biggest issues that this film has is that it has a bad story. Its story sucks. And it has a really terrible villain. And that's what's really frustrating about it. I want to see a lot of these characters return. I love Florence Pugh. She was so good. We're gonna see her return again, and David Harbour return again in Thunderbolt. So can't wait for that. But how they handle Taskmaster is like, Taskmaster is he's a villain with so much personality. He talks shit. They did the Deadpool, they did the X-Men Origins Wolverine thing with Taskmaster. Not gonna talk. Just gonna be quiet, and we're just, and the reason why it's a plot twist, but it's a lame fucking plot twist, and how they tied into this long running story with Black Widow about, I have this red in my ledger as this thing that's been motivating her, that's made her feel guilty, and they kind of take that away in a really sloppy way, and I did not like that. So yeah, outside of some fun performances, which I want to see these characters again. I hope they can give Black Widow the shot, maybe give it to Florence Pugh, just to see her get a movie. But yeah, Chad, it was a long time coming, but I think they really let this character down. So for me, I think this is probably a D rank, honestly. This is a D rank right behind Ant-Man and the Wasp. I don't know. I think I'd rather watch Ant-Man and the Wasp again over Black Widow, which is a shame. Which is a real goddamn shame. Yeah, it was made sense. I'm glad they didn't kill off Taskmaster. They should do like the Mandarin where this was cut. I think they probably will. I would not be shocked. The Taskmaster's coming back in the Thunderbolts movie, but we'll see. Who ended up being Taskmaster? Why the woman Ray Winstone? Spoiler: Ray Winstone's daughter. That was the Taskmaster. It's like what? So did not care. Did not care for that. Marvel's What If. Marvel's What If. It's an anthology show, chat. So with any anthology show, you're gonna get episodes that are good, and you get episodes that are bad, mediocre, great. Again, this show was all over the place for me. Every week I was like, hey, that was great, and then next week I was like, whatever. Didn't care for that at all. So I don't know. I'm gonna say C. I'm gonna say C for Marvel's What If. I think I would probably, I don't know. There, I'll put it in C. C for me, chat. I thought it was fun. It was entertaining enough. I'm gonna watch the next few episodes. So actually, you know what? Now I'll probably put over Incredible Hulk because I'm gonna keep watching it. Definitely gonna keep checking it out. But yeah, it's a C for me. Hawkeye. It's this kind of feels like a show that should have been directed by Shane Black because it has all his sensibilities as a filmmaker. Where it's finally the standalone Hawkeye series really acts as an origin story for Kate Bishop, played by Haley Steinfeld, who I think is great. I really like saying this. I love that how they wrote her. She's kind of like, she's very good. She's competent, but she's a fucking dork. She's a doofus and a dingus, and I kind of like that. Falling over and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I like that. I thought that was really charming. And I like that they showed, the consequences for Hawkeye of, being an Avenger, like it's wearing on his body, and he's lost his hearing, which is, taking from, more recent Hawkeye story. All the Matt Fraction stuff is very heavily inspired by Matt Fraction. Love Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld's chemistry. Introducing the character of Echo. I forget the actress' name, but I'm like, wow, she was such a standout, so great. And, obviously we get the reintroduction of Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin to the MCU, so that was really fun. Again, it just, other than just like introducing Kate Bishop, it's the kind of story where, yeah, and obviously I like how they include Black Widow, Florence Pugh. That was fun. But it's one that doesn't have like a lot of like narrative importance to the grander scheme of things in the MCU. So it's like, it's a fun little side story. This is Hawkeye's adventure, trying to get home for Christmas, right? So yeah, for me, Hawkeye's entertaining, and I think I'd probably watch it over something like I don't know if I'll ever watch it again, honestly, unless I do it for content creation purposes. So Hawkeye, to me, Hawkeye's a fun B tier chat. I'll go with that. The mac and cheese scene is pretty fun. Mac and cheese is pretty fun. I'm gonna say that's probably better. I probably watch Silver Captain America. Yeah. I'll put that right there. Put that right there, chat. Fun B. And is this Eternals? Oh fuck, Eternals is fucking dead last. It's Eternals, chat. It's Eternals. What a huge mistake. I don't know why they made this movie. It's so fucking boring. And I'm not against like making, hey, like I never heard of this character, that's fine, but entertain me. And I don't know, this movie seemed to be obsessed with its look more than anything else, and I don't really like the look. I know that the director is obsessed with using natural light, but it made it look like Zack Snyder directed an MCU movie. It's so self-serious, and you have these characters who I'm like, I don't even know what your name is. Who are you? And it's this whole movie where we're recruiting them, and I'm like, and they're introduced to us in the beginning, but then we spend most of the movie recruiting them again, and I'm like, all right. Okay, whatever you say. The villains are absolutely awful. I don't remember their names. The squiddies, the hentai enemies, deviants, right? Deviants, yeah, deviants. Yeah, I can't think of anything positive to say about this. I think it sucks. The Kit Kat bar. They have a Kit Kat. They fly around a giant Kit Kat bar. Caller, thank you for gifting a sub to Rebel Rain. Do you agree, bad? Yeah, this is bad. It's just a joyless slog. I'm like, oh my god, I never want to. And it's so long. This is like the second longest. This is almost. I think this at the time it was released, it was the second longest Marvel movie behind Endgame. And I'm like, you do not deserve that. You do not deserve to be almost as long as Endgame. Get out of here. I don't know. Like, you compare it to something like Guardians of the Galaxy, where, again, it's similar, where you have characters which the audience has never really heard of, mainstream audience has never heard of before, but they have so much personality. You know, James Gunn infused them with so many great, and they're all different from each other. They just all stand out in contrast, and when they get together in the group, then it's fun, because they're bouncing off each other, and they're arguing, and they're agreeing, and they're laughing and they're fighting. But then you look in terms like they're all the same. Angelina Jolie has space, what's her fucking thing? She has space dementia. And I'm like, oh my God. I do not care. Like, this movie ends with the big fucking guy, the space god, literally taking the Eternals off the Earth and go like, you got to answer for this. And they just leave. And I hope they never bring him back. You don't have to reference these characters ever again. Like, apparently they're going to reference, like, the fact there's a giant fucking Titan sticking out of the ocean. And I'm like, all right, fine. But I never want to hear from these characters again. And no offense to the actors. I mean, there's a lot of talented actors in this movie. Believe me. It's just how they're directed and what was written for them was so bad. I'm sorry. I just don't like this movie. Celestials, that's what it is. Show me what you've got. And they were like, I don't like what you've got. It's an ensemble cast where knowing the ensemble giving you a reason to care 100%. 100%. They only kill one, only likable Eternal. Oh, see, I didn't, when he died, I'm like, all right, I guess he's dead. I just didn't, yeah, no. Nope, that is easily the worst MCU movie. Do not do that again. Do not do that again, Marvel. Please. I don't see a point of a sequel. Okay, we're going back to good Marvel movies, thank God. Spider-Man No Way Home, chat. Now, listen, again, when it comes to the whole multiverse stuff, it's like, yeah, some of this is going to fall apart. It's multiverse. Sure, I think you can criticize the movie for that. But when it comes to when it's executing on an emotional level, it nails it. Like how it uses that old school nostalgia, bring in these villains. And one, I just like the whole premise where it's dealing with the events after Far From Home, which is pretty cool, where Mysterio leaks Peter's identity. Spider-Man's secret identity is Peter Parker. It's like, holy shit, this changes everything. And he's paying for it. And he tries to do an easy fix, and it brings about this huge multiversal event and where all these Spider-Man villains from the different, eras of Spider-Man films, like Alfred Molina's Doc Ock and Jamie Foxx's Electro, and of course, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin coming back, and then of course, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and all that, and just the consequence of everything. They handled that so fucking well. There's so many scenes in this movie. Like I own this movie. I watched it many times since then. I just love that scene when he's in that room with his spider sense is going off. Everyone's like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "Shut the fuck up!" And because he knows one of the villains is doing something nefarious, and he figures it out. It's Norman. I love that the Green Goblin is the main villain in this movie too, and I love that when he webs his hand to the thing, and Norman looks at him, he's like, "That spider sense of yours sure is neat," and he just does that whole fucking monologue. I just love that monologue. In the moment where they're fighting in the hallway, and Norman's going on, it's like, oh God, what's that? Strong enough to have it all, too weak to take it. And Tom Holland just jumps on, starts wailing on him, and Norman just starts smiling and goes, just starts laughing. I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. And everything with Aunt May, how that is all was such a surprise. I was like, they did the whole with great. The thing is about it, I never was bothered by there was this contingent of Spider-Man fans where it's like, we need to see Uncle Ben die again. I'm like, why? There's always that weird contingent of a fan base, chat, especially with Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man, where they feel like we need to see Bruce Wayne's parents die. We need to be reminded of it constantly, or we need to see Krypton blow up again, or we need to see Uncle Ben get shot and then to do the speech. I'm like, I don't fucking care about that anymore. We can move on. The MCU wanted to do something different. You have multiple films. You have an entire Spider-Man trilogy. You got a duology where they do all of that shit. All right. So let this be a little different. But they do it here with Aunt May. And I loved how they did it because they changed it up. I thought that was really good. And then when you bring the other Spider-Mans and when they have that conversation, it's like, there you go. It's like, oh, it all makes sense. I really like that. I really, really like that. And then then seeing, Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield all interact, that was so much fun. And, I love it where he's like, all right, great power comes with responsibility, where he makes the world forget about who Peter Parker is. And now Peter's at his lowest point in his entire fucking life. That's the end of this trilogy, is him losing everything. It's like, that's such a Spider-Man thing. That's such a space, like, oh my God. So, I loved it. I mean, I think you can definitely critique it for the whole multiverse, timey-wimey nonsense. There's no doubt. I think that's fair. But on an emotional level, I loved it. I really loved it, chat. So for me, this is an S tier movie. So that's gonna go right up there. Oh, Mysterio killing Aunt May instead? No, I didn't know about that. That's kind of interesting. As far as I know, Mysterio seemingly is dead. Dead, chat. So I'm not sure. Hey, speaking of Spider-Man, chat, let's do all this, because the Sony Spider-Man films are all part of the MCU now, technically, including Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. So let's just go through all of these. Let's see here. Lex, one thing I hate about No Way Home is Peter wanted to change his future because of college, not because he was wanted for murder. Beginning of the movie, although it's a great movie. No, that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair criticism. Yeah. The motivation. That's fine. I would still grade it S. It's lowest of the S's, at least for right now, but yeah. Speaking of Spider-Mans, let's do the Raimi trilogy. The first Spider-Man, I mean, one of those first superhero films in the 2000s that was trying to figure out the formula for the modern day superhero film that we've gotten. It does a lot right, obviously. Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin is perfect. Out am I? Like all that shit back to form, like all the memes. Love that. Tobey Maguire, I'm going back and forth on Tobey constantly because there are scenes in this movie I'm like, wow, he's nailing, he's great. And there are other things like, you are coming off like such a fucking weirdo and creep. It's very odd. And the fact that he looks like he's 35, I'm like, he doesn't look like a teenager here. None of these people look like teenagers. There's a shot, literally, there's a sequence in the movie where they go to this, the science, I don't know, they go on a field trip, and their teacher looks like the youngest person in their group. He looks younger than his students. It's like, this is odd. Kristen Dunst, I don't feel like they write a lot of good stuff for her. James Franco, he's a different character every movie. He's just kind of like, he's just kind of mopey, and he's really a really shitty friend to Peter. Peter should have called him out for everything he was doing in the film. Rosemary Harris's Aunt May, I think, is very good, and Cliff Robertson is such a fantastic Uncle Ben. It's like, that's why they should never attempt to do the whole, like, don't bring Uncle Ben back. I mean, if you want to do a flashback with Uncle Ben, whatever, but don't do the whole thing where he says, with great power comes great responsibility, because he fucking nailed it. That whole sequence, and like, that was one of the strong scenes in the movie with Tobey Maguire, and like their interaction, and where even Cliff Robinson, like, he does the whole speech, and he's like, listen, I know I'm not your father, and he's like, well, stop, and then Tobey says, well, stop pretending to be. I was like, oh, it just hit you. And then you have the final interaction when he's on the goddamn ground bleeding out from the bullet. And it's not like, he's like, Uncle Ben. And it's not like Uncle Ben does this, oh, don't worry, Peter, just remember what I told you. I love how they played it, where Uncle Ben is confused and crying, and all he can say is Peter. He doesn't know, and he doesn't know what to do. And he dies. I'm like, fuck, nailed it. They did such a great job. And there's other dated things about it. Introducing Macy Gray. And I'm like, oh, God. And the Goblin suit design is not great. J.K. Simmons is Joe J. Jameson is really fun. No doubt about it. And it helped, kickstart the superhero craze, which they really started to figure it out with, Iron Man and The Dark Knight, which is like, okay, that's the modern era. This is when they were really doing a great job of figuring out the formula. So back to formula, chap. So for me, this is a solid B. This is a solid B. I'm gonna go. Do I like Spider-Man 1 over Avengers? I'm going to go right here. I'm going to, man, I don't know. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there, Chad. Yeah, there's just something about that movie. It's very entertaining. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go that as a B, which is probably crazy that I'd put that over Avengers. But I'm like, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm feeling right now, Chad. I'll probably go like, I should have done that. Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2, again, succeeds in a lot of the same ways that the first Spider-Man film does. I think the action is better. Love Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, even though, like, how they handle the whole arm thing is very weird to me. It's very much a different take on Doc Ock, where he's not this selfish scientist. He's actually the scientist that's really, like, I'm trying to better humanity, for the good of mankind and all that. But it's really the arms. I'm like, okay, whatever. James Franco is a completely different character. Like a Nobel Prize, Otto, Nobel Prize, all that, whatever. Rosemary Harris gets a lot of scenes, and I love my Rosemary Harris and shame on you, like all that shit. Very fun. The train sequence is great. And this is really the movie where we see just Peter at his in at least the Raimi trilogy, him at his lowest, just struggling, literally has like a web block thing, has an existential crisis in the film. It's got a lot of fun stuff. I think it's a little slow. It's slower paced than the first movie, but it still does a lot right. So I feel like the first Spider-Man movie is still my personal favorite, but Spider-Man 2 is fun. So I'm going to go, that's another solid B for me, Chad. Really, really high on the B. Spider-Man 3, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. I mean, do I like this more? Okay, let me think about this, chat. Spider-Man 3 is terrible for a variety of reasons, just because how overstuffed it is, the villains. There's stuff in there that I find unintentionally funny, like obviously Bully Maguire, hilarious in the movie. James Franco, strawberries, which is even creepier now when you think about it, in context of who James Franco is as a person. Everything with, I have to admit, Topher Grace is probably the best Venom still. I mean, in retrospect, he's like, yeah, you're the best Venom. Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman, he's just like, I'm doing this for my daughter, just so one note and generic. Mary Jane is excruciating in this movie. I just found her so annoying. It's kind of cool to see Peter. I like the idea of like Peter. Like I kind of figured it out. I'm happy. I don't know how he fucking did it, but he's like happy. I'm like, yeah. I mean, people love him. I was like, I like that aspect of the movie. But there's some fun action scenes occasionally, I guess. They're dated now. Like the first time he encounters the New Goblin, which is such a terrible name. But I like that sequence, even though it's like, oh, this looks a little rough. But other than that, the dancing, the jazz hands. It's terrible. It's terrible. But it is entertaining to watch. So I feel like would I watch this over? I feel like I would probably. It's better than Eternals. Eternals just a fucking slog. It's more entertaining than Dark World, Iron Man 2. Yeah, because some of these are just kind of bad. Captain Marvel. I'm gonna go right there. I'm gonna go D. I think it's right behind Ant-Man and the Wasp. Dig on this. Oh, I know. He looks like a fucking snowboarder in the movie. Just a terrible. Just like what? Just go with Hobgoblin. Just do Just do like orange and blue, and I just don't understand. Or do like an improved version of the Goblin armor. I don't know what they were thinking with the costuming for, both for Green Goblin and especially New Goblin. Such a terrible name. Dear God, help me kill Peter. Topher Grace. I love. Oh God, Eddie. Like the thing is, there is a great idea with Eddie where he's like a fucking creep, which is different for Eddie Brock. The idea that he's so obsessed with Gwen Stacy. And because there's a line in the movie where it's kind of like thrown away, like, no, there's something there where he's like, oh, that's my girlfriend. But then you find out that he just got coffee with her one time and that was it. And he just like, oh, that's my girlfriend, Gwen Stacy. And does he even say like fiance? He's fucking nuts. And I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I was like, that would be kind of cool. But it's just thrown away. And then he's like, God, can you help me kill Peter Parker? It's like, what? Hey, Peter did tell him to get religion, right? It's like, whoa. Oh my God. See, that's the stuff that makes me laugh though. So yeah, I have to. Yeah, it's D. It's low. It's low on the goddamn list. But man, I'm laughing through a lot of it, chat. So throw dirt in his eyes. Get the little dirt. Finish it. Finish it. I'm finishing. That's why Spider-Man is up as high on my list. Good high B on there. The first Spider-Man movie. From evil. Oh yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man films. Yeah, I listen. Where they try to make it like a little darker, I suppose. Where it's like, all right, you know, because I think the reason why this actually happened was because Sam Raimi wanted more time. They were saying you can find all the stuff they had for Spider-Man 4. You can find storyboards. You can find the costume for the Vulture online. There's actually some stuff that came out recently where they had the wings and everything. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And you know, the whole premise is out there. I don't know if the script they had, you know, plans for like Bruce Campbell's Mysterio and all that. I mean, it's like fun stuff. But Sony wanted it like really quickly, and Raimi's like, I can't, you know, because he was burned out, and they went, all right, fuck it, we'll just reboot it, and they rebooted it. And these movies, they just kind of are there. Like the first one, again, I hate this. The whole story with it was like, oh, I remember the marketing of this movie distinctly. It's the story you never knew about, except it was the same story. I guess what they were referring to is the fact that Peter's parents, who we see, you know, for the first time, I was like, oh, that's interesting. They're CIA agents or SHIELD agents. Because in the comics, I believe they're SHIELD agents. I could be wrong. But since they couldn't use SHIELD, I think they were like CIA agents or whatever. And there was the whole conspiracy with Oscorp. I guess they was going to go into that, except they didn't finish it in the first movie. They didn't do it in the second movie. It's like, all right, well, what are you going to get to this? They never got to it. But so much of this film is them just regurgitating the origin again. I'm like, I don't need to see this again. It was already done pretty goddamn well in the first movie, the original Sam Raimi film. Why are you doing this over? And it's lesser in every capacity. In every capacity. Like, there's nothing I feel like this movie does better than the first Raimi film. The Lizard, I'm like, oh, it's cool to see the Lizard. I feel like the Lizard, they apparently they edited, they cut out a lot of stuff. Like, he has scenes of his family. Like, there's no family. You know, Reza Fonz is a fine actor, chat, we know. I mean, we see him recently in House of the Dragon. But, they cut out so much, and he's a big lizard guy. That's it. I want to turn people into lizards, which they actually make fun of in No Way Home, which I thought was very funny. What was the line where, I think it's with Jamie Foxx, where, yes, that's what it is, because the lizard says, I can help you, Max. And Max asks him, he's like, does it have to do with turning me into a lizard? He's like, yeah! I thought that was pretty funny. But here, it's like, yeah, it just didn't work. I hated the design of the lizard. I'm sorry. The movie does do one thing better than the Raimi films. And I really like the relationship between Peter and Gwen. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone they have fucking insane chemistry, chat. I was like, I buy them, both in this movie and the second one. I like that relationship. I hated they rushed the stuff in Amazing Spider-Man 2 with everything with Gwen. We'll get to that in a bit. But I'm like, I buy this. I bought their relationship much, 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 much more than Tobey and Kristen Dunst's, you know, Peter and MJ. I was like, that, I have to admit, was really good. But everything else about the movie doesn't work. I mean, the villain, the Oscorp shit, the conspiracy, them regurgitating the origin again. Then Peter just because it has like his darker tone, and he is on a skateboard. He's skateboarding a lot. I'm like, why? Because, you know, like, he was like, kids like to skateboard. And I'm like, So yeah, I don't know. Do I like Spider-Man 3 more than the Amazing Spider-Man films? I might. I honestly might, because at least for Spider-Man 3, I'm laughing at so much of this movie. Yeah. I think so, chat. Yeah, I think so. So, yeah, I think The Amazing Spider-Man, I suppose, is kind of, I don't know. Would I watch these over the, fucking no. I just don't know. Like, this is where you really get to, like, oh, Jesus. I'll go right there. I'll go right there for the Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think, it's worse. I think it's worse than the Amazing Spider-Man 1. Even, I mean, they shoehorned so many villains in. Sony's trying to force this Sinister Six movie that is never going to happen. I hope it never happens. At least not the way they want it. The fact that they kind of ruined the best thing about the first movie, which was the Peter-Gwen relationship. They're like, I'm not really in the movie together that much. It's like, why? When they're on screen together, they're fucking electric. And excuse the pun. But and it's like I just that didn't make any sense to me where they kept them separate. And then you have the introduction of the Osborns proper. Chris Cooper is really gross. He's literally a goblin. I don't understand this. He has a goblin disease. I'm like, okay. And then you have Dane DeHaan, who has just disappeared. I feel like he's just disappeared. Like, he did this movie, and then he did that movie with Gore Verbinski that no one saw, and I have not seen him since. He played Harry. Again, not great. I mean, I understand his motivation is just, I don't want to become a goblin like my father. I'm like, that's fair. But, yeah. How they rush through all that. And the only thing I think this movie, and then Max Dillon, oh my God, Jimmy Fox. Hey, he's better in No Way Home, I mean, we're all there for fucking, Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina, of course, yeah, especially Willem Dafoe. But, he's handled much better in No Way Home. But I think they even make fun. I love that they kind of make fun of him in No Way Home because of his design. Like, there's a trope in a lot of superhero films where they have like the weird nerd. It could be male or female, chat. Where they're just like, you're such a fucking dork and everyone makes fun of them, and then that motivates them to become a supervillain. It's like consistent. Jim Carrey, Guy Pearce in Iron Man 3. I forgot about that. I was like, wait a minute. There was another Marvel movie that did. I was like, yeah, it was Iron Man 3. And they do the same thing with him. They got him a comb over. He has a fucking gap in his tooth, and he vores electric eels. That gives him power, everything to that. I was like, oh my God. Oh, terrible. I really disliked it. He's better in the next one. I like they gave him more of a kind of a refurbished version of his classic design from the comics. I thought that was written. They gave him the Thunderbolts. I was like, oh, that's neat. But man, Spider-Man 2. The only thing that does well, but they rush through it. The Gwen Stacy death, like when she drops and Peter's like, oh, he catches. Like, I know, we all know what's gonna happen, but like how that plays out, I think is very good, and I love that. Boom! When she smacks the fucking ground, the back of her head just caves in. Boom! Just and you're like, oh, and it's like, holy shit. And then, yeah, Andrew Garfield's acting that is very good. He's very good there. Again, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's just the writing and the directing and the studio just interfering in these two movies. And that's always one of Sony's biggest issues. But yeah, I think this is probably worse than the first one. I don't know. Do I like, no, do I, nah. I'll go there with the Amazing Spider-Man 2, chap. D-list. Got a lot of D's here, chap. Oh, Venom. Venom. Okay, we got more Sony films. Would I watch this over Thor: The Dark World? I don't know. Is it worse than Eternals? Fuck, I don't know. That's a really good question. You know what? Venom is shorter than Eternals. Eternals is nearly 3 fucking hours. I think Venom's like an hour and 45 minutes, like an hour 50. I think I'd rather watch Venom again than Eternals ever again. I'm gonna go with that one. Lax, thank you for the biddies. Also, the little black kid in the end when Rhino attacks. I feel like they were trying to Miles an Easter egg. Oh, I thought the kid had glasses. Was he black? I think he was black. I remember that. Thank you for the 10 biddies, though. And August, thank you for them 30-plus biddies. Appreciate it. Thank you for all your generosity, chat. A turd in the wind. Yeah, I think Eternals is a bigger turd. I would rather watch Venom over Eternals again because at least Venom is much shorter. Venom is like an hour shorter. It's like an hour shorter. Yeah, I would watch. Venom is awful. I mean, I don't like this character. There's nothing to him. They don't know what they're doing in this movie. Tom Hardy, I think, he's continued to give goofy, horrible performance after goofy, horrible performance for years now. And this is like, all right, here we go. People, these movies do really well. So, yeah, I guess I remember Venom. It sticks with you. You can laugh at it. But yeah, I think I'd rather watch Venom over the Eternals. Same thing for Venom Let There Be Carnage. Venom Let There Be Carnage might be... I'm going to say this is better than the first Venom because at least this one is even shorter than the first Venom. I mean, I hate Carnage, the character. It's just... I mean, Woody Harrelson's a fantastic actor. I would have loved him see him in a good superhero film. But man, they just don't. It's just so weird. The movie's like less than 90 minutes long. It is so little plot. Like most of it is just about Venom and Eddie arguing. Like they're the odd couple. I mean, that's really what it is. It's like a gay odd couple, I suppose. And whereas like I don't need like I think even Venom's like I don't need Eddie. He needs me, like all that. Yeah. I think it's better than the first film, but only because it's shorter. Only because it's shorter. But still terrible. Terrible. Terrible, new word. It's horrifying and it's terrible. It's terrible. No, it's terrible. He does not appreciate throwing in these. So, well, it's part of the MC. It is part of the MCU now, technically. Yeah. Yes. Do I have Morbius here? Is Morbius here? Oh, hold on, chat. We're doing all the Sony films. I got more. Don't worry, chat. We're gonna Morb. We got Morbius. Morbius again. It's bad. It feels like a super, like the Venom movies, like Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and the original Venom. They all feel like superhero films from the 90s, like the late 90s, early 2000s. Morbius is the exact same. It's the exact same type of film. You know, it just feels generic, nothing defined. That you have the character literally fighting another version of himself. You know, it's another vampire. Jared Leto is boring in the movie. Everyone's boring in the movie. The only one that seems to be having fun is Matt Smith, who does that sexy dance. It's like, that's fun. And there's nothing else. That's why I was kind of disappointed by Morbius, because I'm like, at least there'll be stuff to laugh at. There's not a lot to laugh in here. It's just kind of dull. And so I feel like the Venom movies are better than Morbius. But again, the only thing that like Morbius has over Eternals is that Morbius is shorter. Like, I would probably watch Morbius. I mean, I don't want to. I don't think there'll be a situation where I'll have to. I don't think so. Because will I ever do, like, no, I don't. Because I've already done a scene-by-scene breakdown of Morbius. And I've already done an audio-video commentary of Morbius. Check out my Patreon. But I'll never have to watch it again. But if there's a situation where I had to watch the Eternals, or I had to pick between the Eternals or Morbius, I'd pick Morbius because it's shorter. So yeah, I have to give it to Morbius. Morbius is a better movie than the Eternals. So by that logic, that's what I'm going with. Oh, Daredevil, getting into more Netflix shows. Now, I guess it's the Netflix. Yeah, I guess Netflix shows are on here. Oh, that's cool, chat. I love. This is all encompassing. The full seasons. So it's Netflix Daredevil season 1, season 2, season 3. Love what they did with this. Thought it was so great. You know, been for years disappointed by the Ben Affleck, you know, Daredevil. Not his fault. You know, just that I forget the director off the top of my head. I think everyone has. But this is where they were so respectful of the original source material, adapting in such a great way. You know, not only, I mean, yes, Frank Miller, sure. But along with Frank Miller, there was a lot of Brian Michael Bendis and a lot of Ed Brubaker in this version of Daredevil, which are some of my favorite runs. You perfectly cast Daredevil with Charlie Cox, who's a great Matt Murdock and Daredevil. Vincent D'Onofrio is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic as the Kingpin. He's one of my favorite MCU villains. Yeah, I was like, as a lifelong Daredevil fan, Daredevil might be my. I mean, we talked about like top 3 Marvel characters. He might be my number 2 behind Spider-Man. I fucking love him, and this series is great. Like, the only issues I have with the 3 seasons is the second half of season 2 is kind of weak with the hand. Every time the hand's in any of these shows, it always goes off the rails. Like, it gets goofy. But man, they brought it back to great effect, and season 3 was excellent. So good, so good. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with Daredevil in the future. Yeah, some of the great scenes. I mean, yeah, they had that wonderful violence and the choreography, and it felt just like raw and vicious. But yeah, just the acting in the show was great. So across the board. So Daredevil it is an S tier, despite a kind of a wonky second half. This is an S tier for me. I'm gonna say this is probably. This is high. This is pretty fucking high. Is this better than No Way Home? It's better than Infinity War. It's up there. It's around there, Chad. It's S rank. It's S rank for me. I really enjoyed this. The second half of season 2 was like, but so much of this fucking Bullseye. That's right, Bullseye. How they did all the Bullseye stuff to make him scared. Oh my god, yeah, Show's great. Moon Knight. Moon Knight. Initially, I think Oscar Isaac does a great job in the series, playing these different characters. Love that whole performance. Really liked Ethan Hawke as the villain. I always love F. Murray Abraham. Love seeing him in anything, Chad. As Khonshu, as Mumra, as I like to call him. And there's some other good supporting actors in this. Well, I like the person who was his female co-lead. I like their chemistry. But my problem is the story. The story feels half baked and half finished. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, there's this stuff and they're saying like, I don't know if we're gonna do the season. I'm like, what? I was like, dude, this felt like there's huge gaps in this show. And I'm like, are we going to go? Oh, we're not? Okay, we're not going to go back to that? All right. And I don't know, that really bothered me. That really bothered me. It is, I don't know. And there's some wonky CGI too, some wonky CGI and action scenes in this film. I have to admit that. And even I'm like, ugh, I don't know. I'm gonna say this is like the lowest of the Bs. Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, this is the lowest of the Bs. I'll put it at B. I'm gonna say low B for me, chap. Yeah, I don't have any that's the thing. I don't really have any motivation to go back to it though. That's the problem. I mean, I'll watch a season 2. I'll definitely watch a season 2. But yeah, I don't know. And there's great moments and scenes in this show, but I don't know. As it all finished up, I was like, what? It's like that's where it had the opposite. It's weird because Marvel either like they rushed it. They rushed the ending. Netflix's problem is they have too many episodes. The Disney Plus's problem is they have too few. They rushed it, and so I was like, yeah, I like the hippo goddess. She was fun. I liked her. Let's do some of these other Marvel shows. Miss Marvel again. The actress who plays Kamala Khan, perfectly cast. Thought she was adorable. Everything with the family was great, from her dad to her mother to her siblings, her friends. Not Peter Parker. I thought that was great. The problem with this show to me is the villains. I don't know who they are. I'm to this day, I'm like, huh? Like they kind of like they go away, I think, in the middle of that episode, and then we're just honestly, the villain should have been Damage Control, because that was a more interesting story. It's like you have Damage Control, and they're messing with this community, which a lot of Muslims. And I was like, oh, okay, tying in the real world things with, after 9/11, you had people, you had these Muslim communities being spied on, and they were ostracized, and they were being accosted by federal organizations and local organizations. Like, that's interesting. I like that, but. And that should have been the main plot. But man, those fucking villains suck. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I stopped. I'm like, okay, I don't understand this. I like the whole history lesson, especially with Pakistan. I love they were changing location. I thought that was really cool for someone that doesn't know a lot about that. I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's like, I like the history, but yeah, everything with those villains, like every time they popped up, I'm like, I literally don't know what's going on. I to this day, I'm like, I don't really understand it. I don't really get it. But she's great, and I like her family. And I like her friend group, and she's the thing I'm most excited about for the Marvels movie. I'm really looking forward to her, because she has so much personality, and she's just so fun to be around, right? Whereas you compare to Captain Marvel, and she's just like so fucking serious and a stick in the mud. And so to see them interact with each other, I'd be like, that's gonna be good. I hope she'll bring out like more personality in the Captain Marvel character. So yeah, I know the powers. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of how they dealt with her powers. I know stretching, is weird, and like how they have to get it right soon with Fantastic Four. But actually they did get it right with Fantastic Four Multiverse. But yeah, I don't know. This to me is. There's a lot of fine performances in this. But I'm gonna go. Do I like Miss Marvel more than Moon? I think I do. I'm gonna go. It's man. Yeah. I don't remember. I don't know. Fuck. I'll go low B for now. Low B for Miss Marvel. Low B. Because there is a lot of good things and a lot of things I appreciate about it. Oh, shit. Okay, Chad, we're doubling up. We're doubling up here. Miss Marvel's probably better. It's up there. But it's low B for me. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Again, I love the aesthetics of this film. You can tell it's a Sam Raimi movie. Love how he incorporates horror into it. Love how they handle Doctor Strange in his arc and how he's just really unsatisfied and really unhappy with everything that's going on in his life. Really like Wanda Maximoff as a villain in the movie. Thought that was cool. I would have wanted more and there's some great action sequences in this too. And I like how they deal with like the Illuminati, like how they did that version. I wanted them to explore more of the multiverse. I feel like you could have been even more creative and more over the top, especially this year when you had literally, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which a huge part of the movie is about multiverse. And they were so creative and so like, whoa, this out of this world, literally out of this world with it, where it's like multiverse in madness pales in comparison. And the America Chavez character, I was just like, I just don't give a shit. She's a plot device. There was this, I don't know, there's so often, like when she was paired Benedict Cumberbatch, Benedict Cumberbatch is a great actor. And I just never liked that duo. And like there's like a huge section of the movie where they're not even together. I'm like, oh yeah, she's in the movie, I guess. I forgot. Yeah, she's a MacGuffin. So it's kind of like neck and neck of the original Doctor Strange, honestly. Like I think I like him more than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, personally. But yeah, it's a B. It's a B movie for me. B movie for me, chat. Thor Love and Thunder. It's gonna be controversial, chat. I actually really, really like Thor Love and Thunder. It's more of Ragnarok. I think the only problem is it definitely has more comedy. And again, what I find funny, you may not find that funny, and vice versa. I really like Christian Bale's gore. There need to be more of gore in this movie. There's no doubt about that. And one thing I really liked how they handled it the first time, they actually made me care about Jane Foster. I really liked how Taika Waititi handled that relationship and her being Mighty Thor, as they call her in the movie. I was surprised by how much I actually really enjoyed this movie. So yeah, to me, this is like the highest of the B's probably. I think I'd like this even more than something like Far From Home. I really enjoyed the movie a lot, so I'm gonna give this a pretty high B for Thor, which would probably be really controversial. But I dug the movie quite a bit. Defenders. Oh, Jesus. What a disappointment. We're getting back into some of the Netflix shows. Yeah, Chad, remember we were all excited for all these Netflix heroes, especially when they thought, if Daredevil being such a success, season 1, and they did Jessica Jones season 1, which I'll talk about in just a bit. And then, Luke Cage, I only think the first half of Luke Cage is good. After that, I just did not care. And I didn't even finish the second season. And then Iron Fist. Well, we'll talk about Iron Fist in just a bit. Yeah, Defenders, was a huge disappointment for me. And again, it's so many episodes. How many episodes is it? It's a lot of episodes, right? It's like 6 or 8 hours. Yeah, we all forget. We all were so excited, and most of us forget Defenders existed. It's pretty disappointing. I would fucking chat. This was a huge letdown for me. I'm 8. Fuck. Oh, Jesus. All right. You know what? I think like if you had to ask me, would you rather watch Eternals or Defenders again? I'd rather watch Eternals because Eternals is shorter. So Defenders is way down my list. Defenders that's at the bottom. That's the bottom because that's fucking 8 hours. No, I can't do it. I can't do it, chat. No. Iron Fist. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. I feel sorry for this guy too. Finn Jones, I think the actor's name is. He's been in a lot of stuff, but the whole Danny Rand character. Even in the comics, they said he's the master of kung fu, and they go, a white guy's a master of kung fu, really? And he's like, just dated. He's dated. Even though I love like Danny Rand and Luke Cage in the comics, there's some great heroes for hire, graphic novels out there. Really fun, but man, Chad, that's 13 episodes. No, that's bottom. That's bottom too. That's a D right there, chap. That's a big fat D. F. Punisher again, chat. I've loved how they handled John Bernthal's Punisher in Daredevil season 2. I was not a big fan of either season. This is when it was really like, all right, these shows are way too fucking long, and it's unnecessary for all these episodes. They had like entire arcs in this show. People even forget. Like they had a whole arc about this guy who has PTSD. And it kind of just ends with him being a murderer, just killing random people, and it goes absolutely nowhere. Like how that, I was like, this is kind of weird. I don't really like how this finishes up. I like Punisher with. You get all the Punisher action you want. There's no doubt. Which is that's fun. Finally, but okay, this is gonna be controversial. Well, actually, won't say, but I like him with Micro. I like that relationship. That was fun. Outside of that, the Punisher season 2 is terrible. It absolutely terrible. I never want to. No, I just don't like either season. But season 2 is even worse. But I'll say this is gonna be huge. Yeah, the Thomas Jane Punisher movie is the best Punisher thing we have, other than Man on Fire, other than Tony Scott's Man on Fire, which is the best Punisher thing. That's great. I like the Thomas Jane Punisher movie. Now, John Bernthal, I think, is a very good Punisher. I just think I don't think the seasons they lived up to his version of the character. But in terms of what I would rather watch, I'd fucking 100% rather watch a Thomas Jane Punisher. But Punisher is very disappointing. So this one is just in front of Iron Fist season 1 and season 2. So that's going there. Do not care. I hope they bring him back as well, but man, disappointing. Luke Cage. I like the first half of season 1. I'm not a big Mike Coulter fan. I think he's kind of dull. He just doesn't have a lot of Well, I really like Luke Cage, especially in the last, during the 2000s when he had Brian Michael Bendis writing him, and when he was in, all the Jessica Jones stuff, and when he was I love him as a New Avenger. Like, if you read all the New Avengers comics when he's like a main member of the team, I think that's all great, and he just stands out, I don't know, on the show, like, I like what it's commenting on. I love Cottonmouth. I think Mahershala Ali is really good, but that Diamondback is fucking ridiculous, and I couldn't get through the second season at all. I was like, I can't do this. I think I stopped after episode 3. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I do think it's a lot of TV though. It's a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'll put this at D, honestly. Soundtrack's fun. Yeah, sure. Jessica Jones. Again, this one is this one's rough. Racism. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have to do it. I love Jessica Jones. The first season is great. Now, it is also based off her best story ever with Purple Man Kilgrave. David Tennant is such a creepy, effective villain. Loved how they handled all that. And I forget the actress who plays her. She's perfectly cast. The problem is, chat, the next 2 seasons are just not good. They're just not good, and it's like, God damn it. And so it's like that first season. If I had my way, like that, if I could rank just the first season, it'd be like, that's in the A. That's A right there. It's just maybe a few too many episodes, but other than that, I'm like, maybe cut down a couple. And there's some side characters I didn't like. Definitely some side characters, some tertiary characters. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing with them. Get them out of here. But man, fuck, because that first season is so good. Damn it. Kristen Ritter, thank you. She's great. I'm gonna go. Fuck it. I'm gonna go C. I'm going to go C. Because all the other seasons of the other shows I was just talking about, Luke Cage, I only think half of the first season is good. The rest, I'm like, I don't care. Defenders, no. Punisher, no. Iron Fist, no. Jessica Jones has that first good season, and then the rest, bumpkus. So I'm gonna have to say, yeah. I'm gonna give her C. I wish it could be higher because that first season is fantastic. And thank you. I just had a new following. Let me go ahead and thank that person. It was the biddies. Oh, Lily, thank you for the 100 biddies. Wishing you a wonderful rest of the subathon. See you all around. Lily, thank you so much for the generosity. Yes, Chad, we are still doing the subathon right now. It's been super fun. Hope you guys have been enjoying it. I got to do the DCU tier list. We're almost done with Marvel. We only got a couple more left, chat, and the DCU will be very, very quick, very fast. Not a lot with that. Not a lot with that at all. Got a lot of my D rank here, chat. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll go through them all again. I like She-Hulk. She-Hulk is fun. It's got problems, but it's a good time. Again, comedy. It's like what I find funny, you may not find very funny. I mean, does it have a strong main story? No, but still enjoyable enough. So I don't know. I give it this is a low B. I'd rather watch She-Hulk again over probably Moon Knight, honestly, which is probably controversial for some, but I liked it. I think Tatiana Maslany is perfectly cast as Jennifer Walters. Thought that was fun. So, yeah, I know. Controversial chat, but yeah, I enjoyed She-Hulk. I Am Groot. It's fine. It's little short specials. It's whatever. I would go. I'll go C. I think C is a perfect rank for that. I don't know what this is. Legends? I don't know what this is. I didn't see that. Is this like the making of? I'm not going to rank this because I don't know what it is. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So this would be controversial, Chad. I actually like Black Panther Wakanda Forever probably more than the first Black Panther because I think it has a great story. The supporting performances are fantastic. I like how it elevates Letitia Wright, her character of Shuri in the movie, just the character of Shuri. Angela Bassett is a great performance. Tena Huerta as Namor is great. I love how they really... they do such a great job of expanding on just Atlantis general, like giving that Mesoamerican aesthetic. I like the motivations. I think the action, the CGI is much better. It's much better. And I think it's a great ending. And I like how they have Shuri earn that mantle. It's like, when she puts on the Black Panther costume and gets powers and everything, she's not Black Panther yet. When she makes a key decision at the end of the film, like, there you go. Now you're Black Panther. I thought that was so good. So good. So, yeah, this might be controversial. I think it's better than the first Black Panther movie, honestly. The only criticism I have of it is, and again, they're not like these actors are bad, but you have the character of Riri Williams, and you have the character of Everett Ross, played by, Martin Freeman, who I like, but they're not really important to the movie. They just feel unnecessary. I feel like you could still do all the same things you wanted and don't really need them. And they're just there to set up other things. And they're like, the whole thing is set up a Thunderbolts movie, which is happening. And the Riri Williams Ironheart show. And I'm like, But again, they're not bad. They're just not needed. You don't need those subplots. But other than that, I think it's great. And so this is probably the highest of my A's. I would say this is a very high A tier, chat. Boom. There you go. Legends, again, I don't know. I'm going to put this over here because I don't know. World by Night. World by Night was a huge fucking surprise to me, chat. I really enjoyed this, and I had a lot of misgivings. I didn't particularly care for the marketing. I was like, I don't know. It's going to be kind of schmaltzy. But no, it's a wonderful homage to Universal monster horror films from the 30s and the 40s and 50s. And I thought they did such a great job really getting weird with it. Oh, God, who's the actor who plays Werewolf by Night? Damn it. Gael Garcia Bernal, is that him? He was. I mean, for what he had to work with, which wasn't exactly a lot. I mean, it's about 45 minutes, maybe. Really, really liked what they had him. He has some great moments, like the introduction of Elsa Bloodstone. Really enjoyed how they used man things. He's just a big fucking puppy. I love that. And yeah, the black and white and the aesthetic, and they let them get a little more violent. And it's like, ooh, let's explore more of this monsterverse, And now to hear that, like, the new Blade movie is going to go hard R now, which I'm like, oh, thank God. Now we can see some more horror monsterverse rated R content from Marvel. It's like, okay, good. It's kind of building on that. So, hey, fucking have him in the Blade movie. I'm like, I'd be up for it. Have Man thing Blade movie. That'd be fun. So, yeah, good. I was very impressed. This is A. This is an A1 for me, Chad. I'm going to say this is like maybe right behind Loki. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed that one. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Yeah, this made me really excited for the Guardians of the Galaxy, the third movie, obviously, which is coming out this year. Again, it's a short, about maybe it's under what, an hour? Is it 30 minutes or something? But it's just obviously dealing with the events and the fallout from Endgame, where Peter is incredibly depressed because of the situation with Gamora, and Mantis and Drax try to cheer him up again by celebrating Christmas and getting him a Christmas present, which involves kidnapping Kevin Bacon. And it was great. And this is the one where they really let Mantis come into her own for the first time, which is really cool. And got some wholesome moments, some great music. And Drax continues to be funny. So yeah, I really like this special. I think it's better than I think it's much better than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, because it's like, hey, we're all gonna put as much as we can and cram it into that 30-minute length of time, and so it's all fucking good. It doesn't really have anything and it's also the first thing that doesn't have a villain in the MCU, which is unique. So yeah, this was high. I would say this is A. Yeah, I would say, yeah. Did I like this more than WandaVision? I guess maybe. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I'll put it up there for right now. And yeah, I can't rank Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania, chat, because I haven't seen it yet, but we're going to be seeing it soon. And we have Legends, which I think is behind-the-scenes Marvel stuff. So we'll go down my list, chat. S tier, these are the S tier movies. So I guess these are movies I would give, like, I don't know, better than sexist too, on on the DT scale. But Captain America: Winter Soldier, Avengers: Endgame, Captain America: Civil War, Avengers: Infinity War, Daredevil, and Spider-Man: No Way Home. Those are my favorite, probably Marvel movies right there. Like those are like these are the best for me. A tier. Again, these movies are fucking great. I might maybe have like 1 or 2 issues with them, but overall they're really entertaining, really really good. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Black Panther 1, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor, Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first Iron Man, Loki season of the series that we have so far, Werewolf by Night, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, WandaVision. B tier, Thor Love and Thunder, Spider-Man Far From Home, the first Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Falcon Winter Soldier, the first Avengers, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Hawkeye, Captain America, the first Avenger, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel. C tier, What If, Marvel's What If, The Incredible Hulk, Avengers Age of Ultron, Shang-Chi, Jessica Jones, and I Am Groot. And then D tier, she had a lot in D tier, I noticed. Actually, probably, yeah, more. Ant-Man the Wasp, Spider-Man 3, Black Widow, Thor, The Amazing Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, Iron Man 3, Iron Man 2, Spider-Man 2. And we just get to the movies. I'm like, all right, fuck this. Thor, The Dark World, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, Venom, Morbius, Eternals, and the rest of the Netflix shows, from Luke Cage to Defenders to Punisher to Iron Fist. I think Iron Fist is the worst. I would say Iron Fist is the worst just because of how it's 2 seasons. It's 26 hours. It's 26 hours. No. Iron Man 2 and 3. Iron Man 2 and 3 are on D list. They're D. Big fat D. Big fat D. But there you go, chat. That's my rankings again. Might not agree with these rankings. Might be different from your own. This is just how I'm feeling right. I mean, I might change my mind. I might raise some in B to A. I might lower some from B to C. I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel. Oh, they did. Inhumans wasn't even on this list. Inhumans would be D as well. that'd be very low, very very low. No doubt about it. Humans was awful.